Hello and welcome to Perfect Glamour Fashion. In today's tutorial, I'm going to show you how I made this simple asymmetric hemline top with an A-line skirt. Okay, it looks like a gown looking at the picture, but it's actually a top and skirt. So let me show you how I did it. Now I'm going to be cutting this directly on the fabric, so let's do this. We're not using pattern paper today, we're cutting directly on the fabric. Okay, all right, so after marking the start line, I marked the shoulder divided by 2 and I came down by 1 inch at that point, and then I marked the neck width. If you observe, it's a high neck top, so it's 3 by 3 that we'll be using for the neck. Alright, so the neck width is 3 inches and the neck depth is also 3 inches. So I went down from that 1 inch I came down with. I also went down by the armhole length. The armhole length is usually the bust divided by 6 plus 2 inches or 1.5 inch, depending on the size of your customer. Okay, and then I went ahead and drew an angle there, and then I divided that armhole line by 2. Go ahead and mark and then come in by 1/2 of an inch. This is how we draft our armhole in this channel. So if you're new to this channel, welcome. This is how we draft our armhole. These are OGs, they already know how we roll. Okay, so you mark your bust divided by 4. Okay, now for the vertical measurements, I'm going to mark the nipple point, the under bust, the half length, and then the waist to hip. Okay, so I actually marked the bust point, the half length, because I'm not really going to be using under bust for this pattern. Okay, then you mark your waist to hip, and you would mark 4 inches after your waist to hip. So when you've marked your waist to hip, okay, then you add 4 inches depending on how long you want that slanted part, depending on how long you want it to be. So that is the first line. My camera's frame couldn't capture that fourth line, but you see when I will draw it. Okay, so that's what I'm drawing now. This fourth line is the length you want the top to be. That's the longest part of the top. I used 4 inch after my hip for that longest part. Now the next thing is to mark your nipple to nipple measurement divided by 2 on your horizontal line, on your vertical line, sorry, and then you connect that with a straight ruler. So nipple to nipple divided by 2, you mark, okay, and then on the waistline, you're going to mark 1/2 inch on both sides of the line, then come down from your bust by 1 inch and come down from your waist by 5 inches. I hope that makes sense. So 1 inch away from your bust line and 5 inches after your waist line. I hope that makes sense. Okay, all right, so if you have any question, remember I'll be answering in the comment section, so do wait to ask your questions, I'll answer you. All right, so you mark your waist divided by 4 plus that, please don't forget to add your that, especially if your fabric is not stretchy, and then hip divided by 4 plus 1 inch for sewing allowance, and then you're going to, I added the sewing allowance to the bust point, I also added the sewing allowance to the waist. Okay, and now for that first line that we drew, that we said that we're going to be using for the hemline, you're going to give 2 inches sewing allowance. Okay, if you observe, after marking the hip divided by 4 on that last line, that hemline, you add 2 inches sewing allowance and connect. Okay, this will give a bit of ease to that hemline part, okay, when you've slanted it. The next thing we're going to be doing is to mark our neck depths by using 3 by 3 like I said earlier. So mark our neck depth and then we'll cut this front. We're done cutting the front. The next thing is to place your fabric. For the back, you place the front on your fabric, and then you give 1 inch for zip allowance. Okay, then for the neck depth of the back, you come down by 1 inch and connect it to your shoulder. You come down by 1 inch for the back. 1 inch is usually okay for the back, and then you would take 1/2 inch from the waistline. 1/2 inch from the waistline, especially if you're not very big, if you're not on the plus size, just take 1/2 inch and don't bother replacing it. This is going to kind of give you that waist snatched waist effect. Okay, so don't bother replacing this, especially when you are sewing a basic top. But if you're sewing a corset, a bustier, please replace whatever you take, no matter how small it is, so that you don't have shortage. Okay, so I'm pinning down this zip allowance, and then I'll open up the back. When I open up the back, I'll place the front on the back. Okay, now I want to slant that what is it called now, the hemline. Okay, so I turned it over to the part that you will see. Now I'm going to come down from the waist on the other side that I didn't do my markings on. Okay, on the right side, it's facing right now. As I'm looking at it, you're going to come down by 5 inches. Okay, so come down by 5 inches and connect it all the way down to that 4-inch hemline that we gave. So remember, we marked 4 inches away from our hip for the hemline. So connect this new 5-inch mark to that 4 inches to form a slanted line. So that's what's going to give you that asymmetric hemline for this top. Okay, I hope that makes sense. Now I've gone ahead to hold the darts. It's a simple French dart, so I believe you'll be able to do this. Okay, so I've gone ahead to hold the darts down, and then I'm going to be placing the front at the back. Now I plan to use bias to turn the neck, but at the end of the day I had to use facing to turn the neck because it looks more ready-made. When you're making a ready-made looking cloth, it's usually better to do facing. So I went ahead to do facing for this later on in the video. So if you don't know how to do facing, or how to cut it, or how to make it to sit properly on your neck, just comment facing in the comment section and I will do a video for you on how to do it. So I'll go ahead and join the front and the back using 1 inch sewing allowance that I left, and then we're going to be cutting the sleeve. Now for the sleeve, you just have to fold your fabric into 4, because I'm going to be cutting both the front and the back at the same time. So what you're going to do is use your biceps measurement plus 2 inches, okay, to fold, and then come down from your start line by 4 inches at the side, okay, and then form your curve. Just curve it down, okay, and then you go down by the length you want your sleeves to be. I use her sleeve length plus 2 inches because I want it to come down a bit from her sleeve, okay, and then you mark your bicep, that is your shoulder to your biceps, then your shoulder to your 3/4, okay, because it's going to have a little bit of a bell sleeve. So mark your bicep divided by 2, your 3/4 length divided by 2, and then you connect whatever you have plus sewing allowance, of course, plus 1 inch sewing allowance, then connect it down to the sleeve length with a slanted line, okay, and then I'm just measuring to make sure that's the length that I want, and then I will come up from that sleeve length by 1.5 inch or 2 inches. You can come up by 1.5 inch or 2 inches and connect it to the center front, and that's it. That's how to cut your bell sleeve. Remember to add your sewing allowance to the down part also when you are cutting. Now I usually take out 0.25 from the front part of this my curve. So I use notch to indicate where the front part is. So 0.25 from the front part. If you don't know how to cut sleeve that sits properly, just comment sleeve on this in the comment section, and I will do a more detailed video on how to do it. So I've gone ahead to add the zip, and it was at this point that I realized that I should have used facing instead of bias. So at this point, if I was using bias, I would have just gone ahead to use bias to turn the neck, but I said no, I want this to look good and professionally finished, so I cut by facing. So like I said earlier, if you don't know how to cut facing that sits properly, just comment facing in the comment section, and I'll do a separate video on how to cut facing for any kind of neckline. And because our aim here is to make sure that you are a professional fashion designer, okay? Right. So if you're new to this channel, if you're seeing me for the first time, you're welcome. Do well to subscribe, hit the notification bell also, so that you'll be notified whenever we have a new tutorial for you. And to my people, to my subscribers, I love you all. I really appreciate your comments, your likes, and your shares. Thank you very much. Okay, so after doing this, I'll join the front facing and the back facing, and then I'll go ahead and join my zip at that point. Okay, so now for this down part, I didn't also want to just turn it up. Okay, I had to also add facing for the down part. I just got a straight line, a straight fabric that is 2 inch in width. Okay, so and then I'm going to join it to the down part. I'll flip it over and top stitch. So it's going to be, I'm going to join it to the front part. I'll flip it over and top stitch. So when I top stitch, it will now be behind the front. I hope that makes sense. Okay, so 2 inches width of strips, just attach it, just follow that same line, that slanted line, and just attach it and iron it out. Are you seeing how neat it's already looking, instead of going ahead to stitch on the top and all of that? Now you weave this part, the rough part, and then you will close it back up with your hemming gum so that there will be no sew line. Do you understand that? So that there will be no sew line. It usually looks very good. Now I went ahead to cut my 180-degree flace skirt. I have a video on how to do this, on how to cut this kind of skirt in this channel. So look at how beautiful my customer is looking. She loves this. She was looking so elegant. Thank you very much for watching. I'll see you in my next video. Bye.